Hello and welcome to Baseplate Reviews. So today you can see we're starting off with quite the mess. I've got a bit of a challenge on my hands. If for those of you who've watched my videos before, you'll know that I've got a few of the modular buildings in my city already. So 3 official ones, with the latest being the Natural History Museum. I've also got the Downtown Diner, and then finally probably my favourite of the modulars, which is the police station. I've also got the Sanctum Sanctorum, which doesn't sit in the modular range but certainly is a modular building, and I've also modularised 2023's Heart Lake City Community Centre by putting 2 of those together just there. But I'm going to add another one to the city, and that is what that mess is just over here on the build table. And you might be able to tell what it is just from some of the parts, but also the fact that it's got a base plate and a half down there, and that is Assembly Square. The reason this is in such a mess is because we moved from the UK to Canada, so I had to disassemble all of my Lego that I had over there. Already bought quite a bit more since being here, now that we have the space for the tables and a dedicated Lego room down here in the basement. But I thought now was as good a time as any to add a big modular. So today that's going to be my challenge. I'm just trying to work out whether I should be just disassembling it all right down to the parts, or whether I should try to salvage bits which are already kind of built. The first thing we're going to do is to move all of the base over to Mel's plates, and then I'll make a decision about whether I go right back down to the parts and just rebuild it from the start, or whether I try to kind of piece the bits together which aren't fully broken apart. Anyway, that's today's challenge. Let's get it built. I'll also do a quick review of the recently retired Assembly Square. Should be fun. So I've done a bit of sorting, put a lot of the single pieces into the sorting tray here, and we've got the base plates. But upon sorting, it looks like, it's a mess, obviously. I've tried to just sort it into some broad colours. But if I move over to the side here, you'll see these are pieces which definitely don't belong to Assembly Square at all. This is the Creator 3-in-1 Townhouse Pet Shop and Cafe. And then there's some just plates put together there which I don't think are from either set. I believe I've also got a baby Voldemort here somewhere. And we certainly do. So it looks like maybe that particular piece is just an oddity, but definitely we haven't just got an Assembly Square in there. I'm hopeful that there is a whole Assembly Square in there, and what I'll do is I'm going to start off by just building the base, and then I think I'm going to have to part this out completely and start from the start. So I don't know how I'm going to do it otherwise. But anyway, let's get to it. Get the non-Assembly Square parts separate from the Assembly Square parts, and we should be good to go. So the good news is that I got it built. There were no missing pieces apart from one of the minifigs, which I'm sure is in a box or bag that's come across from the UK. I just couldn't face creating another mess like that in order to find her. But otherwise, yeah, all built, no missing parts, nothing damaged, and yeah, looking pretty good. I'll put it in the city and take some photos and stuff there, and then we'll go run through a quick review of the set.
Assembly Square is an all-time set, maybe not necessarily an all-time great, but an all-time set in terms of it was the first modular to go onto a base plate and a half, the last modular to have the classic expressionless minifigures, and it was the 10-year anniversary set for the modulars. It forms a core part of so many builders' cities, and it's easy to see why, as it displays really well and has lots of different professions in it, with a florist, a cafe and a bakery on the ground level alone, before we move up to the music shop with its dance studio up above, and then the all-important dentists, especially if you've been eating all the cakes from the bakery. Then you've got the photography studio, and you've even got an apartment on the top level of the right-hand side. I think the best parts of the set, for me at least, are the dentist's office. The dentist minifigure is excellent, with a touch of his white hands to show the wearing of gloves. And then you have a fully complete surgery with a waiting area, and the actual clinical part of this level is ace, with not just the dentist chair and light, but also a fully stocked corner with sink and supplies. It would have been so easy to stop a little earlier. The apartment is also great for such a small space, with the train set, a great sofa and a small kitchenette type area. If only the designers didn't always have to stick a toilet in there, this could have had even more space for something else more interesting. The set looks pretty great from the exterior, although I've never been convinced by the fountain. I think that's pretty mid at best. I would say that as much as the window build for the bakery or pastry shop is cool, using all of the parts clipped together, it doesn't really let you have any view inside other than the huge wedding cake that's too big to miss. The views of the bottom level interiors are all a little lacking for me due to the decision to have these be really deep in terms of height for the florist and the pastry shop, and the cafe is just a bit uninteresting. This is a set that more than others in my opinion would benefit from a lighting package. That's not something I'm interested in getting as it stands. The price of those are pretty high from what I've seen, and I don't want to consider lighting up the city anytime soon. The oddest part of the set for me is that outdoor kitchen above the photography studio. I just don't get it. It seemingly belongs to the apartment, but I'm unconvinced this is a great entertaining area. Maybe if it was on top of a cool modern apartment building, then yeah, but here it's just a flat out no from me. If we compare it to the other base plate and a half modular, the Natural History Museum, I can see why people would prefer Assembly Square. It's definitely a set with a lot going on, and you can easily place your own minifigures in here to bring it to life, as it's definitely lacking in customers for the various elements, plus the receptionist for the dentist's office would have been nice. The Natural History Museum though does feel a more complete set, certainly from an exterior point of view, and Assembly Square seems like it's maybe cheaped out a little with the no tiling of any of the interior floors other than the ground level. Maybe they felt that it just wouldn't have been interesting from a build perspective, but I think it would have just made it feel more finished. I might actually do this myself, so I'm happier with it. For the minifigures, I do think these are overall a great selection, even if I'm missing the mother of the baby fig currently. The best ones for me are the ballerina in her tutu. The dentist is just perfect, as I mentioned before, and I don't think the chef can really be improved. The figures do all use the same classic face, so the flourishes have to come from their torsos and head and hat pieces, but the shop owners for the florist and music shop are a little dull for my liking, and the cafe owner or worker is very average too. The photographer throws me a little. He's working with the most old-fashioned camera, but he looks distinctly modern for me with his hoodie on. Working with outdated equipment and wearing a beret and having a twirly moustache sends off all kinds of hipster vibes. Screw hipsters. We also have the cute chihuahua sitting outside the cafe, and this is obviously great stuff. Like I say, overall pretty good, but we could have done with 2 or 3 more minifigs in such a large set. Overall, even with my criticisms, I do think Assembly Square's ace. It just needs a little care in terms of adding in minifigures and maybe some upgrades. It's not a challenger to be the best modular in my opinion, but I can see why others would love it.
So in terms of placement, I've decided, at least for the time being, that Assembly Square is going to sit over here by itself. That's where the downtown diner was, and I've just switched that around to the Natural History Museum. I put a couple of pictures in, but when I put the Assembly Square in the same position as the Natural History Museum, it didn't hold up too well against the modular community centre there. I think in the end it might end up being directly opposite, where I've got the Natural History Museum, so down here, but facing towards the museum. There's other options, and if you've got good ideas about where to place it, which buildings to place it next to, please leave that in the comments below. I'm happy to have it in the city, again, just starting to feel that much more complete. We look all around. We've got a full square now. Buildings all around it. So, yeah, more to go. I've got the bookshop modular to build and a couple of other things. I want to modularise a LEGO store set that I've got. They're very small sets that definitely, if you want to use them in a city, need a lot of extra pieces and stuff. So I may make a mini modular out of one of those.
I hope you enjoyed that rebuild of my assembly square there. As I mentioned before, if you think it should be placed elsewhere in the city layout, let me know in the comments below. You may well have a better eye for things than me. If you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing if you haven't already. See you next time, and as always, be good.